Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's council meeting. This is the 40th meeting of the 143rd Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. And boy, is it dark early. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, are there any disclosures of interest from any of the council members? Seeing none, we'll go on to minutes.
I have a motion that the minutes of the meetings held on October the 16th, 2023 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments on minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Council will now resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with the following business. First committee this evening is strategic direction and development. First item relates to the strategic plan refresh public engagement update. I have a motion that report ADM 3023 relating to the strategic plan refresh public engagement update be received for information. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions, comments, or discussion? Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Worship. Most interesting report for sure. I noticed that the three different venues, there was 20, 10, 25. I wonder how many people actually submitted online. Do we know the number of people submitted online? The results, their questions, their concerns?
I do not know.
I just curious.
City Manager, do you have a thought on it? We'll get that information for you.
We will
Okay,
get that
so
information.
by the
through-
time we start the
Yeah.
plan, we'll
Yeah.
know more of those details too.
Yeah, because it was certainly a lot of comments, but I just wanted to make sure it wasn't too 30 people.
Right.
Making all the comments. So thank you.
Yep. Councillor Gibson.
I would just like to thank Taylor and the team for doing this planning for us and getting the word out to others that what we really like to see our city to look like in the future. So I really appreciate the work and the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. I was thinking the same thing. It's a great list of comments from citizens, and it's great that many participated. I wish the numbers was hundreds more, but I'm happy to see the comments from those that did. Further comments? Councillor Clark?
Thanks. Just on that, do we, through any kind of media campaign, explain to people those items that are not in our jurisdiction and that are provincial or federal items? Because a number of the items, while they are good information for us, they aren't our purview and not our dollar. And yet people think that perhaps we should be doing something about those things.
Councillor Clark, you're 100% right. And I think certainly as we go further through our strategic plan, we should be loud and clear as to what's truly in our jurisdiction. But I guess I can tell you, we've started it for the future. We've had a whole number of school kids in here in the last little while that are learning what the city government does do and what the other levels of government do too. But we will continue to do that. But I agree with you, as we go further through our strategic plan and even through our budget, we should make a little bit noise about what is ours to do and what is others. Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Worship. The one thing that struck me in it, a number of things, and I look forward to seeing the final report come back and the next steps, but communications come up a number of times in it. And I think one of the challenges is not everybody is utilizing social media or other forms of news venue. Other than our good friend from 94.1 My FM, who is diligently here every meeting, and Rogers broadcasting it, the lack of any other print media coverage is certainly something I think that makes it difficult to get the message out. And
Clearly,
I putting aside and recognizing the importance of strategic plan, I think it's something that we should think about just in general going forward as to, are there ways that we can improve what we are doing to get the message out, and just plant that seed for now. But
And I'll take the planting of that seed. We've been working quite diligently on how does that happen. And we know, and you're right, Mr. McCollum's here every week and talks about what we do at this place, but we've got to be able to get the message ourselves. And we think some communications at our level too, a little better, in order to share the news out there. So again, be prepared as we put together this strategic plan, that we really talk about what it is we've discovered or we're setting forth to do. So I like your thoughts, Councillor Peters. Further comments? On the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to the Community Improvement Program residential grant for the property at 145 Ross Street. I have motion that report PD 4423 relating to the Community Improvement Program residential grant for 145 Ross Street be received for information. And further, the council direct that a bylaw be prepared to enter into a Community Improvement Program grant acknowledgement agreement with 519 Developments Limited relating to CIP application 2021-116. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Macaulay.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to an application by Doug Terry Limited for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for the southwest corner of Wellington Street and Manor Road. I have a motion that report PD 40-2023 relating to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for the lands at the southwest corner of Wellington and Manor Road be received for information. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wookey?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to thank staff for addressing the concerns. I'm happy now with the drainage plan, and I appreciate getting that information. And I still think that the corner, because there's going to be decreased daylight corner there, I think we've approved that already. I think coming around the corner is still going to be a challenge for people pulling out and turning left. But I understand the report. I appreciate the report saying that normally traffic will not be backed up far enough and people should be able to pull out and pull into where you stop to continue on the roundabout. So I want to thank staff for that. I still have some concerns about that entrance being very, very, very close to the right of way, but or to the roundabout. But if they are comfortable with it, I'm only the assistant city planner, so I will take their advice. Thank you.
Perfect. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to an application by Cannon Homes for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 125 Centennial Avenue. I have a motion as follows, that report PD 4123 relating to the application for proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 125 Centennial Avenue be received for information. And further, the council authorized staff to prepare site-specific draft amendment to zoning bylaw 50-88 to permit a proposed residential development on lands described as part of Lot 10, Concession 8 in the geographic township of Yarmouth, now in the city. And further, that a public meeting be scheduled for December the 4th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in accordance with Ontario Regulation 545/06 as amended. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to the second report of the 2023 Site Plan Control Committee. I have a motion that report 4323 relating to the second report of the 2023 Site Plan Control Committee be received for information. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next two items are notices of a public meeting to take place by Zoom on November the 23rd, 2023 at 10 a.m. from the Committee of Adjustment regarding an application. The first one for consent by Henry and Shirley Poirier to create separate lots for the existing duplex at 51 and 53 Redan Street. The second one regarding an application for a minor variance by Sunver Enterprises Limited to permit a drive-in restaurant, including a pylon sign, 8 parking spaces, whereas a minimum of 38 are required, lot frontage of 18.2 meters, whereas the minimum required is 30 meters, a rear yard depth of 0.9 meters, whereas the minimum required is 1 meter, and an interior side yard depth of 0 meters, whereas the minimum is 1 meter for a total depth of not less than 6 meters for the property at 121 South Edgeware.
Do I need a mover or seconder?
Your worship, this is just notice of a
Just
public meeting.
consent? But I have a question from Councillor Peters.
Yeah, thanks very much, Your Worship. Question to Lou is, doesn't sound like a minor variance to me. It sounds like a significant major variance that's being granted on this site, and why would we leave this in the hands of Committee of Adjustment and not have a discussion at the council level, or is this truly minor when it sounds to me major?
Mr. Pompili, I'll call on you on that one.
Through your, through your worship. Yep, no, there's quite a list here, a shopping list of variances that are being requested. And normally when staff are reviewing this, they go through the 4 tests to determine whether it is a minor variance. And in some cases, some of these issues, some of these matters are truly minor, like in terms of some of the setbacks. But when you look at them cumulatively, they may not meet that test of being minor. So that's one of the things that staff will be reviewing when they're preparing their report. And it can go one of 2 ways. If it truly does meet the tests and is appropriate for the Committee of Adjustment to deal with, that will be reflected in the report. If it's not, the recommendation may be that this is more appropriately dealt with through a minor rezoning as opposed to a minor variance.
But by what you've just said, Mr. Pompili, that means it comes back to us either way?
It'll only come back if we determine that this is something that is more appropriately dealt with through a
Okay,
rezoning as opposed to a minor variance.
all right. Further questions? Councillor Wookie?
Thank you. Mr. Pompili, before you sit down. Can you explain in a very short order what the 4 tests are? Like, just so I know what they happen to be as your assistant city planner?
To you, Your Worship.
You
I
didn't
gotta
know
go back
there'd
and
be a
remember them.
test tonight, Mr. Pompili.
The first test is really, is it minor? And that's a test that the planner will evaluate as they're preparing the report. The other tests are, is it in keeping with the intent of the official plan? Is it in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning bylaw? And the 4th one is it desirable? So those primarily are the tests that we apply to every minor variance application.
Go ahead.
Sorry, desirable from whose point of view? From just the city in general, or from a planner's perspective, or from the neighborhood? Like, that's a pretty fluffy, open-ended one there.
It is, but it's overall in the context of the official plan and the provincial policy. Yeah, it's very broad.
Okay. Next item.
Next 2 items are notices from the Site Plan Control Committee of meetings to take place on November the 8th. The first takes place at 10 a.m. Via Microsoft Teams. And that meeting will consider a proposed craft brewery at 44 St. Catherine Street, a proposed 5-story affordable housing apartment building consisting of 82 residential units and 1 retail unit at 220 Highview Drive, and a proposed 24-unit townhouse development at Wellington Street and Manor Road. The second, which takes place at 11 a.m., also via Microsoft Teams, is to consider a proposed hospice facility at 8 South Edgeware Road, a proposed 3-story apartment building at 118 Center Street, and a proposed 23-unit seniors residence at 4 West Pearl Street. Your Worship, if there's no further items from the members under this committee, we'll now move into community engagement and services. At this time, there are no items on the agenda unless there are any items from the members.
Councillor Wookie?
Thank you very much. I had a communication from someone and they said I could share it with my colleagues and with the public. And it involves pickleball. So speaking of services, a person is planning in the fall of 2024 of opening a 6-court indoor pickleball facility in the north end of St. Thomas.
Great.
And when they saw our piece on, perhaps a dome going in at the park, what they did is said, hey, can we do a, private-public partnership and maybe direct some of that investment to us? Because we're doing this already. And I forward this to Mr. Bray and he will be in contact with them. But I just want to make sure that my colleagues know what's up and that this is happening. And the person's asking, is there a business grant? Is there city funding for upfront costs? And that's my update about that service that will be coming in the fall of 2024. And perhaps there is an opportunity for us to help that out and help ourselves out. Thank you.
Perfect. Next item.
Seeing no further items, your worship, will now move into infrastructure and civic operations. The first item relates to the Elm Street and Centennial Road roundabout grass cutting. The Director of Parks, Recreation and Facilities will provide a verbal update.
Mr. Bray?
Thank you, Mayor Preston. Just confirming that roundabout at Elgin Elm and Centennial is in the county. It's outside of the city, and as such, we have no maintenance requirements there. It's, as noted, it has been vegetated or planted with wildflower plantings, and they have no intention to maintain it. Apparently, the design has it elevated enough so that there won't be sightline issues.
Okay, thank you for getting that information for us, Mr. Bray. I see a hand. Councillor Clark.
Thanks. It's kind of hard to tell between what is natural vegetation and prairie grass and what's weeds. I'm wondering if they will be monitoring that, and when the weeds overtake the site, whether there'll be some consideration made. It's a terrible entrance to the city.
Thank you. I'll have that conversation with the warden of the county and the mayor of that municipality also, as to, are you sure that's what you want to do? And I know Mr. Bray has had that conversation too, so.
Your worship, we'll now move into new business under infrastructure and civic operations. First item relates to the 2024 water rates, fees and charges. I have a motion that report ES 6323 relating to the 2024 water rates, fees and charges be received for information, and further the council direct that a bylaw be prepared to amend bylaw 44-2000 Schedule A to reflect the proposed 2024 water rates, fees and charges. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on water rates? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to the 2024 St. Thomas sewer service rates. I have a motion that report ES 6423 relating to the 2024 St. Thomas sewer service rates be received for information, and further council direct that a bylaw be prepared to amend bylaw 172-2006, section 5.5, table 1 to reflect the proposed 2024 sewer service rates. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Wookey.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
Next item is the 2023 Drinking Water Quality Management System Management Review for the St. Thomas Water Distribution System. I have a motion that report ES 6623 relating to the 2023 Drinking Water Quality Management System Management Review for the St. Thomas Water Distribution System be received for information. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Councillor Herbert first.
Thank you, Worship. I hope I'm in the right spot here because the parts that, when I started to read the report and going right through it, even in their minutes, they talk about things not being done. And then you get in the inspection report and things are not, testing is not done. And on page 50, not done, action not done, 50, not 61. I'm just curious, when those tests aren't done, is it serious to us that they're not done, or is it just something that they can pick it up and worry about later?
I'm going to let Mr. Dealer answer that. Kevin?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to Councillor Herbert. Those actions that you're talking about, inspections were actually the testing for helic acid testing. Forgive me, I can't say the other one, but the frequency of testing requires 120 days. We did it in 122 days, and it resulted in because of a result of a scheduling issue. When we were counting up the months, we weren't counting for the extra 31st day in a month. So we were out of compliance for those two. We have since then corrected that by making sure that it's in our management system as well as in the supervisor's Outlook calendar, pre-populated for the next 2 years. So we shouldn't run into that issue again.
Councillor Herbert?
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, you're talking one specific thing. So every time like page 51, testing not done twice, 50 not done, 61 keeps going right through. Is that for the same test that you're saying? It continues. Is there a reason why it's not done?
No, sorry, through the mayor to Councillor Herbert, that is the same test that I was referring to earlier. And that it wasn't completed in the 120-day cycle. And so we did it on 122 days.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Your worship, unless there are any further items from members under this committee?
Councillor Clark?
Thank you. A few weeks back, I had mentioned the large fire trucks going out on medical calls. And,
Yes.
I was just wondering, since we're beginning the budget process, whether or not we could ask the chief to provide some information to the treasurer and the rest of the budget committee, just so we have some idea of costs if we were to move forward on a smaller rescue vehicle type thing, to save the mileage on the large fire trucks. So I'm just requesting that he be asked to provide that information to Treasury so that we'll have it for our discussions.
Well, first of all, thank you, Councillor Clark. Your budget looking forward. So that's very good. That's coming pretty soon. And we'll let the chief answer your question.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Clark. So I've done quite a bit of research on this, and it's a great idea moving forward as we grow to add a truck like that to our fleet. But one of the things that I found in my research, a lot of departments run with 2 trucks to calls. So what happens when we get a call, we get the bare bones of what the call is. It'll come in as, I'm going to say, shortness of breath. But we don't know what caused that shortness of breath. So when we respond with the big rescue truck, that rescue truck has confined space stuff on it, hazmat stuff, our air packs, and whatever else, and a crew to handle that. If we were to respond with a smaller vehicle, we can't carry all the items we did. We did that previously when I was a firefighter and a captain and such, and the truck didn't have enough stuff or was overloaded, and we kept breaking the truck or getting it stuck or getting it into situations where we didn't have. So with Rescue 10, the truck that responds to all those calls, much like the pumps that respond from the North Station, those trucks are equipped to handle basically whatever it is we land on at that call. So if we were to get there and it was something that with our meters, we find it's a hazardous situation that caused this, we have enough stuff on that truck. If we were to send a truck without that stuff, we would have to wait and call that truck, which isn't staffed at the hall. So I call the rescue truck and the pumper kind of like a toolbox. So it'd be like going to, for you to walk out your backyard and find out that you need something, then you have to go back to get it. So those big trucks are a toolbox all in one. Moving forward, as the city grows and we grow, that's a great idea where we can have a smaller truck to get into those smaller areas where we get some apartment buildings, smaller areas, smaller subdivisions, and we have more staff that we don't have to, what they call hot seat, to run a truck like that.
Councillor Clark, follow up?
Thank you. But most of we're talking about medical calls, right, Dave? Right, so ambulances are equipped with everything they need to attend that call, so they're not the size of a pumper or whatever.
You're
So I'm just
100%.
wondering why we would need to send out the large truck and why we couldn't send out a red ambulance.
in saying that, you're 100% correct. But if we were at, say the call was the 305 Wellington, which is the fire hall, and we get there and we get another call on top of that, which happens quite a bit, we don't have that backup truck to take with us. That truck goes, and if we were to get an MVC, motor vehicle collision, which happens, our call volumes are through the roof. We're going to be north of 3,000 calls this year, which is unheard of. If we get a call and we're at and I'll use the fire hall as an example. If we're at 305 Wellington, we get a call to a motor vehicle collision north end of town, somebody has to go back and get that toolbox and then take it, because we don't have it, and we can't carry enough stuff on a smaller truck to go to a call like that. So we take those trucks with us. Yes, they are bigger trucks, but we find them, they utilize a lot of different, they check a lot of different boxes while we're out. A lot of times we leave the building and people think that we're going and coming back. A lot of times that truck runs constantly through different calls, anywhere from 10 to 15 calls through the night.
Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple quick questions maybe. First, how many people go in that rescue truck? 2, 4?
So we run with a minimum of 3, and
3.
most of the time we run with 4.
Okay, 4. Secondly, if you get there, and like you said initially in your speech that sometimes you don't know what the call is till you get there. If it was a fire, is the truck equipped to fight fire or not?
So the truck's not equipped to fight fire.
But it carries
So
extinguishers and
we
stuff?
carry extinguishers, we carry our packs, we have our full gear with us, which allows us to, and we ran into this problem with a smaller truck. We had to put our gear somewhere else because you couldn't
Oh, yeah, for
change.
sure.
You couldn't change without pulling over the side of the road, and you stopped, got out of the truck, put your gear on, wasted that element of time to perform a rescue, and then get dressed. In this truck, we have enough room to fully, for the captain and the 2 back end people to get fully dressed in that unit, as much as they do in the pumper trucks do.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark?
Well, we got him in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just kind of a related question though, you triggered the number of calls that you're doing. What a percentage would then be fire calls out of actual fire calls?
So right now, out of those calls, I'm gonna say 70% are medical calls, roughly. Going from there, we're probably gonna look at maybe 15 to 20% are fire-related calls. Not every call that comes in as a fire is an actual working fire. We've had quite a few fires this year, but the unique thing about St. Thomas is the way we're situated and the way our halls are laid out. We are getting there within 6 to 8 minutes. So when 911 calls, you call 911, we're there in 6 minutes. We're out the door, dressed in a minute, and on site in 6 minutes. So that's why you don't hear about the big, the houses burning down and stuff like that. Our response times are good unless we're at another call and then we're tied up. But to answer your call, I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20%, 70% being the med calls, and then the other 10% being others.
I see no other comment. Not one we have to vote on, so we're good. Thanks.
Your worship, if we have concluded infrastructure, we'll now move into corporate governance and administration. There's nothing shown on the agenda at this time unless there are any items from the members. And seeing none, council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council and committee of the whole as recorded in the minutes of this date be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor McCauley.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next, we move into reports of committees. First report relates to the heritage alteration permit for the property at 548 Talbot Street. I have a motion that report MHC 1623 relating to heritage alteration permit 548 Talbot Street be received for information, and further council issue a heritage alteration permit for the property at 548 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 1323. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No further items under reports of committees. We'll now move into petitions and communications. The first item relates to a request for jumbo lighting for World Prematurity Day. I have a motion that the jumbo monument be lit in purple on November the 17th, 2023 for World Prematurity Day. Moved by Councillor Wookie, second by Councillor Herburn.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is a letter received regarding jumbo lighting for Stomach Cancer Awareness Month. I have a motion that the jumbo monument be lit in periwinkle on November the 30th, 2023 for Stomach Cancer Awareness Month. Moved by Councillor Gibson, second by Councillor Wookie.
Questions or comments? Councillor Clark.
Can we make periwinkle?
I think we can do periwinkle.
Can we?
Mr. Bray says thumbs up to periwinkle. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is a letter and petition of 247 signatures received from Karen Rivers of 51 St. Catherine Street relating to the installation of a roundabout. I have a motion that the letter received from Karen Rivers of 51 St. Catherine Street opposing the installation of a roundabout at the intersection of St. Catherine Street and Kane Street be referred to the Environmental Services Department for a report. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Gibson?
So it's been a round of words on Facebook, and a lot of, and in with concurrence with the signatures here, there's great concerns about it. So can we not go back and review the area once again, or is it like, I'm not too sure how this works, but I was hoping that we maybe have a chance to maybe look at an alternative before we do put a roundabout in. Is there a way of doing a section of the area, bump it out like we did on Talbot Street to slow the traffic down, and maybe plant a few trees in that little area there on the north side of Curtis Street there, so that it looks once it's done, and then put a bike park in there or something. But I'd like to have some more information on this, because this actually came in 2021, I do believe. I wasn't on council, so I did read up a little bit about it, but I really would like to hear more from staff if possible. Thank you.
Perfect, Councillor Gibson. That's exactly what we're asking for. Is we're sending a report back to the department to say, we've had some great citizens come forward with their views. Now, can you come forward with what this site would look like in your mind then? So that's what this report is asking for. Kevin, if you'd like to share with us, by all means.
Through the mayor to members of council and the public, I just wanted to say that we're having a public information center on this project on November the 28th, right here at City Hall in room 304 between the hours of 6 and 8 p.m. So anybody who wants to come out and participate and express what those concerns are, we'd be happy to review those. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And we'll make sure that we also use our communication methods to get that out too, so that people know when the date and time is. Perfect. So on the report, to refer it back to Environmental Services. I haven't moved and seconded. I'm just looking, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to a letter received from Lisa McIntosh, a nurse next door home care services, regarding a request for overnight parking permits. I have a motion that the letter received from Lisa McIntosh, care designer of Nurse Next Door Home Care Services, requesting overnight parking permits for staff attending the homes of clients in St. Thomas, be referred to the Environmental Services Department for a report. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by Councillor McCauley.
Questions or comments? Councillor Clark.
Just wondering how long the turnaround would be before the report came through, because the request said it was a little bit urgent with the weather changing and the need for meeting the client's needs.
Yes, as of November 19th, we will have no parking on those streets. So, Mr. Dealbeck, can we expect it?
Through the mayor to rest of council, I could give you the report right now. I had a chance to actually review this file. The eligibility requirements of our policy is that if you have 2 or more parking spaces off street, so on your own property, you're not eligible for an overnight parking permit. Looking at this file, they have 4 parking spaces off street. So they would not be granted an approval for an overnight parking permit based on the eligibility requirements within the policy.
I don't know the file well enough, Kevin, but then why is a spot being asked for if there's parking in the driveway? Have we asked that question?
We can go back to the resident and we can have that conversation with them and see if they can't figure out another arrangement for their driveway space that they currently have off-site or off the roadway, to see if some other solution could be determined somehow.
Well, if you can and try and get back to us or at least to the client. Thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in, sorry. Councillor McCauley, you're hiding behind the clerk. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll move over now.
That's okay. If I understand, so they're looking for that permit, but it's not for someone that lives at the house. It's for care for someone within the house. So I think that's where they might be using those for, and then this other one is for someone that has to come for care for.
Right.
So it would be great if we could find out what those 4 are being used for, but also see if there's a solution that we can, whether it's on that street or another street, like work with the resident to try and find a solution.
Yeah, this one seemed to be for medical reasons, and I don't want to get into one-offs on parking permits either, and I know you don't, but let's see what we find out. Great. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is a notice received from the City of St. Thomas and Arcadis of an online public information center that's taking place from October the 18th, 2023 to November the 8th, 2023, relating to a major arterial roadway connection, municipal class environmental assessment between Centennial Avenue and Yarmouth Center Road. The next item is a copy of a resolution received from the City of Cambridge regarding support for Bill 21, Fixing Long-Term Care Amendment Act. Next item is a copy of a resolution received from the town of Rainy River regarding training for water treatment operators. Next item is a copy of a resolution received from the Township of the Archipelago regarding the disposal of cigarette waste. The next item is notice received from the Catfish Creek Conservation Authority of a consultation survey relating to the development of the authority's new 10-year strategic plan. The survey can be found on the Catfish website. The next item is a letter received from the Southwestern Public Health regarding a consumption and treatment services feasibility study review being conducted by the province. Next item is notice that an application has been made to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario by the Clay Oven for a liquor license for its indoor area at 648 Talbot Street. Council may make representation to the commission concerning the application. Next item is notice from the Ontario Energy Board regarding an application from Enbridge Gas Incorporated to raise natural gas rates effective April the 1st, 2024 to recover costs associated with meeting its obligations under the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Pricing Act and regulations under the Ontario Emissions Performance Standards and to recover other related account balances. The last item is a thank you card received from Michael Parsa, MPP for Aurora Oak Ridge's Richmond Hill, thanking Mayor Preston and Team St. Thomas for meeting with them at the AMO conference. Your worship, unless there are any other petitions from the members, we'll now move into unfinished business.
Okay, anything on unfinished business?
Seeing now none, we'll just move into new business at this time if there are any items. Your
Council-
worship.
Councillor Herbert, you're up.
Thank you, worship. Well, I think Halloween night was a tremendous success for downtown St. Thomas. If you didn't attend, there were thousands of people from one end of Talbot right
Clear.
down to the other end of Talbot, bumper to bumper. I've never seen so many kids on Talbot Street and adults all dressed up in the holiday Halloween spirit. There was representation by the special constables were out in force, the fire department was setting up in front of City Hall. It really was a great night since our street is fully open now from one end to the other. So congratulate all the merchants who took part of it, and most of them took part in it. They ran out of candy. There was so many kids and adults. And I'm looking forward to the Santa Claus parade because I think it'll be even just as big success. So, but anyway, thank to all the merchants and all the people in St. Thomas who came out that night. I just was flabbergasted by the number of people. So,
Yeah, and I
kids.
saw you were there in your costume.
Yes,
Councillor
I
Herbert.
was. And you were in your costume too.
Yes, I was.
Thank
Councillor
you.
Gibson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to let everyone know I did attend the Engineer Regiment dinner and reception on behalf of the mayor and
Thank you.
council and staff. And let me say, I am familiar with some of the protocol that they did, but not everything. I almost got gagged. They almost took my name tag and the guy next to me, take your name tag away. They're gonna be talking about you. So I had to take my name tag away. So I learned something there. The other part was interesting is how they toast to the country. So of course you were able to put your right leg on the table at the end. So
Yes.
that was very interesting. Need I say, I didn't make it there. And my other item is, of course, is Remembrance Day is fast approaching, and I would like to thank the City Hall to accepting 2 boxes here and all the businesses across the St. Thomas area and those who participate in doing Poppy Day for us. So also like to remind Talbot Street at 10:45 on Remembrance Day will be closed for about 5 to 8 minutes for the marching of the drum and pipe band and cadets, leaving the Legion from John Street to Moore Street. And then once the service is going on, once the service starts, it'll be opened. And then once again, that same area will be closed during the march out, which will be approximately 11:40, let's hope 11:45. But I hope to see everybody out. So far, the weather looks kind of wet, but I don't think it'll be as wet as it was a couple of years ago. So I just hope to see everybody out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. We're kind of used to it being wet on Remembrance Day from time to time. Thank you for reminding us all of this Saturday ceremony. I know that I'm at Valley View also on the Friday and was yesterday at the Keystone Complex in Southwold for their Remembrance Day, and it was quite good. It was a lovely day, sunshine and warm. So we never know what we're going to get. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. Councillor Peters and I were part of history on Saturday afternoon for the interment of the Elgin Regiment colors. And I didn't realize this, but it's the first time in the history of Canada where the colors have been interned. And so history was made that day.
Well, and I thank you both for attending that too. Incredible event and parade for it to happen. So I thank you both. Councillor Peters?
Thanks very much. We're just to build on that. It really was a moving ceremony, and big thanks to 31 combat engineers and St. Thomas Cemetery who coordinated this event, and it really was special. There were representatives, Colonel Green, who was the commanding officer that went overseas with the 91st. There were representatives of the Green family there. Anderson's, Katie Valentine, Katie Anderson was there because it was Anderson's store, Mr. R.M. Anderson, that gave the colors to the regiment way back when. So it really was a special event. It was also nice to see Charles Bruce, Lord Elgin's son, that was in town for the event as well. And I'm glad that Councillor Gibson had an opportunity to participate in that toast.
Hear the toast.
And
Yes.
it's a very interesting evening, but I had a chance to talk to Charles, and his father, Lord Elgin, is going to turn 100 this next year. And he's in great spirits, and he's doing very well, and he's still living in the family estate at Broomhall in Scotland. And
Well, we should remember to recognize that date when it gets to.
I'll find out some more and let
Please.
you know. The other one, Your Worship, I just wanted to comment on, and it relates into the Remembrance Day, is that starting on Saturday night, there's an event that takes place in Belgium at the Menin Gate.
Mhm.
And it's a last post, it's salute to the fallen that takes place at the Menin Gate, and it happens every year in Belgium. For the past couple of years, this event has been held at our War Memorial. And at 7 o'clock, it's a short little event, but it's really quite moving. I was out on my back deck last night, just past 7. And the City Hall bells struck 7, last post began, and you could hear it clear as a bell. And it was really something. So it doesn't take much of your time, but it's a nice event. And I know our fire services, police services, EMS help to support this, but it's really quite a moving evening. And it's short. It's
Yes.
10 minutes and it's over.
Thank you, Councillor Peters. Other new business? I have a couple. I represented us last Friday at the Ottawa Mayors of Ontario meeting, which we have twice a year. This one was in Vaughan. Mayor Del Duca was a great host to us, and we had lots of good conversation about the growth in the automotive business, and that how much St. Thomas is being recognized now as a great big new player back into the automotive business. I reminded them of many suppliers we still have in this community, and Sean was there too. But where we really talked about the growth of St. Thomas, not just being one big thing, but a lot of other growth too. I wanted to also share with all of you, we are putting together our provincial advocacy plan that will be used for Roma in January. But this week, we've also it's that time of year again where we're being asked by the Finance Minister of Ontario to come and make some presentation this week on the 9th to things St. Thomas would like to talk or see in the budget. And so I'd like to give you a short list that I plan to talk about with the ministry this week. And it's about delivering affordable and supportive housing, which is something really big that we've been doing. Enhancements to mental health and addiction supports, which is something we've been asking about every time we get to meet with federal or provincial ministers. We continue to ask for support on brownfield remediation so that there's more housing land available to us. The support, we also want to have a discussion about support for improved school board and municipal relations. So we're talking about looking forward at school development, and also expand the capital funding to expand the early years system and assist with staff recruitment and retention in the childcare system. So those are the things we'll be saying our priorities for St. Thomas this week to the finance minister, and we'll add to that and present it to the council before we do go to Roma as to what else, what other ministers will ask for delegations with. That's all I have.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll now move into bylaws.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Laurie, Councillor
you.
Baldwin Sands, I missed your hand.
Thank you. No, I was a little slow on lifting my hand. I would also like to recommend too, we had a discussion at our health recruitment partnership meeting this morning in regards to ensuring that family physician recruitment across the province, as well as what is needed so desperately here in the city of St. Thomas, be a delegation as well.
I've put it in. We'll make sure we mention it. Apparently I have 3 minutes, so I'm sure I can get this in. Okay.
At this time, we'll move into bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws, moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Peters.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Peters, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 6th day of November, 2023.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to stop up and close part of Edgeware Line designated as Part 1 on Reference Plan 11R 11098.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Third bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 50-88, being the zoning bylaw for the city of St. Thomas. This is to permit a residential townhouse development at Wellington Street and Manor Road.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Next bylaw, please.
Fourth bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw number 172-2006, being a bylaw for imposing a sewage service rate in the city of St. Thomas for 2024.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. I rise to report
Oh,
the
sorry,
success.
Mr. Chair, there's still one
You
more.
got one more?
Sorry, the numbering is a little off this evening. So the
Okay.
fifth
Yes, there's
bylaw.
2, 3. Yeah.
The fifth bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 44-2000, being a bylaw to provide for the regulation of water supply in the city of St. Thomas, and this is 2024 water rates.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. So now I rise to report the successful passing of 5 bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Peters, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the 5 bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next order of business is public notice. Notice is hereby provided that in administration intends to introduce a report at the November the 14th, 2023 council meeting regarding an adjustment to the 2023 operating budget to accommodate an increase in funding to Southwestern Public Health. No notices of motion this evening. Your worship, there is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with 2 matters relating to a proposed or pending acquisition of land. Meeting matter held for the purpose of educating or training the members, 4 personal matters about identifiable individuals, a matter of litigation or potential litigation, and 2 matters of a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor McCauley.
Questions or comments? Before I call for the vote, I'll say what we say most weeks. We're now going to move into closed session. When we finish in closed session, we will move to adjourn from this meeting. And so for those of you that have joined us on Rogers or joined us on our live streaming, we will not be coming back into public session tonight after our closed session. So we'll see you all next week. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.